Celine Bacani is a dynamic Vancouver-based entrepreneur who has turned her enterprising spirit into meaningful community success. As the co-owner of the celebrated and expanding Lee's Donuts, she's helped transform a modest mom-and-pop shop into one of British Columbia's most iconic brands. Celine's work is anchored in her deep love for her family and community. Celine, welcome to THINKSPACE.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. How you doing this morning?
Really good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So we were talking a little bit earlier about just Lee's and getting into this space. I am so curious, what makes you want to buy a previously owned company, something that had already been like a Vancouver sweetheart? Like, what made you want to do that and usher that into a new existence?
You're starting off real.
Like, tell me,
Yeah,
because it's real, right?
It.
Because there's so much online is like, so much content online is what's your passion? Go find your passion.
Right.
What did you create? It's very founder led, right?
It is.
And I'm somebody who joined a pre-existing team and I loved what they were doing and I knew how to put fire on it, right? And it doesn't mean that I didn't have spirit or I wasn't like an entrepreneur. I just wasn't the idea maker, right?
Exactly,
so I'm so curious, like, how did you do that?
So similar to that, Alan and I are not your traditional founders. Like, this brand was here before us. And if we do our jobs right, it's going to be here after us. And so for Alan and myself, we met through the arts. And so there was always that, and we know that the arts are consistently underfunded. So whenever we do projects together, it was always that fighting spirit to produce something really, really great. And we kind of took that into everything that we did, and as we built our life together. And we landed in the Granville Island community. His father has a butcher shop in there that's been there for over 40 years. And getting to know the Granville Island community and the family-run businesses, we grew a really deep appreciation for what it kind of stood for. So, I mean, having that on top of Alan and myself just being really enterprising, we knew that we wanted to find something for ourselves.
And what were you doing at the time? Were you in business?
So, yeah, absolutely. So before working, we worked for his father for almost 10 years to learn the family business. So Alan's a butcher by trade. Myself, like my history, or my background's in sales. And I was building a real estate career at the same time as working for my father-in-law. Alan was working on a lot of music projects, a lot of art projects, and looking for businesses to start by whatever, what have you. And when we came across the donut shop, we didn't just see a mom and pop shop. We saw a real brand opportunity.
Yeah.
And it was literally one conversation after we, got the listing, and he was like, are we going to do this, or we just want to jump in? And we're like, yeah, let's just do this.
So what were your thoughts at that time? Like, when you're like, it's a branding opportunity, because I can see the excitement in your eyes. Like, what were you excited about? What were you looking forward to? What were you nervous about?
First of all, it's a really great product. It's a universal product. And, when we were doing our research, we found out that Canada has the most donut eaters per capita in the world. Like, who knew, right?
So cool.
So that right there was already a step in the right direction. And then in terms of a brand, it's a locally homegrown brand. And that's super unique to have that lasting power. So then the challenge became, how do we come into this, make this our own? And it was a fun brand. So at the very least, we knew we were going to have a lot of fun with it. We could get artsy with it and kind of infuse some of our soul into what it is today.
Yeah. Earlier when you said you guys met in the arts, I was so curious, what were you doing in the arts?
So Alan is an audio engineer, but he went to school for that. And him, along with his partner, Jigs, who is today our brand manager, used to do, music together. And then I myself was a dancer, trained dancer growing up, competitive ballet dancer.
Cool.
And then that sort of morphed into contemporary jazz and hip hop.
Yeah.
And so back in the America's Best Dance Crew days, like, we met, I needed a music mix, and
that is so cool.
We needed to meet new friends in the community, and we just clicked. And
how old were you guys when you met?
Early 20s.
Oh, that is so cool.
We've been together for a long time.
Yeah, but you got to meet through a shared passion, which is so cool, because, something which we'll dive into is I'm so curious on, you work with so many of your family members, and one obviously being your husband. And I'm like, that's so interesting. You met through a shared passion. So passion and this love for creating things has always been at the center of your relationship, sounds like.
100%. Yes. Yes. We look at things as projects. There's a beginning and there's an end, and, you know, even like with life, right? So we see things kind of differently. Yes, there's business foundations. Yes, the numbers matter. Yes, all of this matters. But at the foundation of it is our love for creating and seeing things through to execution. So.
I have a question that I like, it's kind of like off, but it's in the same. But so like how you're saying you did dance, right? I want to know about your experience of getting into your body. And this is more of an esoteric, like feeling question.
Sure.
But yeah, like what has your relationship been like with your body? When I say that, I mean like feeling things and like being in that empathetic space. And how has that helped you in business?
It's a deep breath because it's a complicated relationship.
Yeah.
It really is. I grew up in a very traditional Asian household, and the need to, so I'm what I like to call a recovering perfectionist. And so the relationship with my body, I think, has been very complicated because it was imposed on me from a young age. I started competing at age 8.
Oh, wow.
All right. So I was introduced.
Was it a choice or was it like, because you said it was put on me at that time?
I don't think I knew better at the time. I think the people around me with the best of intentions saw potential and they saw something that they could develop. And I was just there for the ride. I was 8 years old, but And as great and as fun as that was, it also introduced me to diet culture at a young age. It introduced me, it's very different today because I have an 11-year-old. And so I'm very mindful about how I am with my body today. And today we are good. Like we are so good. But it took like 20 years of just really going through it and growing up as a perfectionist. It was always a negotiation with myself in terms of how it showed up in business. Because I like to say to my mentors or whoever will listen that my perfectionism is part of what got me here.
Yeah.
The sheer will and force to produce at a high level. Honestly, it's there's no way around it almost. I don't know how I would do it any differently.
Well, that part serves you, right?
It sure does.
Yeah. It serves you until it doesn't. And that's like everything, right?
Yeah. And then so mix that in with, having a pretty strict upbringing and needing to produce at a high level and getting accolades when you achieve something. It's kind of a perfect storm to really neglect what's actually going on inside. And so, I get asked all the time, like now I'm starting to do more women's events and leaning into that. But growing up, I didn't really lean into that because I didn't know to trust my own body, or I never sought out women mentors. Every coach and mentor I've had up until now has been male.
That's so interesting.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
Not because I intentionally did that, but maybe because I'm a fiery Aries and I was looking for someone to match my energy. But it really was just how it happened for me. Okay. So I don't regret how everything rolled out, but I do understand that it's my responsibility today to dive in and figure it out so I can break these patterns as I raise my daughter. Yeah.
And you know what? I think different seasons call you for different things, because I've always been like, I get what you're saying. And I also get like how there's a little bit of like, well, why did I make that decision? Or why did that happen that way? But I like you said, like maybe it's because I was a fiery Aries or this or that. Like I've always been in companies or in spaces where they're so male dominated.
Yes.
And it didn't really start to like, do what is happening until I was like 33, and I was like, like I actually need different things in life now, and I'm also becoming a woman in a different way. I need to understand what does it mean to be a woman in her 30s in business, and that's when I really started seeking out different mentors because my life just called for that.
That's it.
Yeah,
that's totally it. And the tools that you had growing up, like they don't serve you at this stage in your life, right?
Yeah.
And it's been an interesting, I think 2025 for me was a really pivotal year, and it just forced me to unpack everything that I was, kind of holding in. And I'm like 43, like we're not a spring chicken. We feel like a spring chicken.
You look like a spring chicken.
Thank you. But there's no, I just kind of decided last year that there's no time anymore to try and please other people and do this for others. Like, what does this mean for me and my family? So
what happened in 2025 to get you to come to this conclusion?
just a whole lot of life. I think prior to 2025, I was doing a lot of work in the entrepreneurship space through the brand that went beyond donuts. So we were hosting panels and networking events, and a lot of them were surrounding mental health. This is something that has become more of a topic within our company. I was going to say raising this company, but building this company and building these teams is what do my people need, right? But how do you lead by example if you're not dealing with it yourself? You can only fake it till you make it so far, right? So 2025, it's interesting. We had hosted a panel on it was nearing the Lapu Lapu Day tragedy that happened. The day before that, we had hosted a panel with a friend of mine from Toronto. He'd flown out, and it was surrounding crab mentality, mental health, and the Filipino community. And so we were already kind of in this space of, wow, we were being so open. Like, this is not typical for Filipinos to talk about their feelings. And so we were going into Lapu Lapu Day. I did not attend the event, but the impact that had on the entire community, I think just opened up something in me and in a lot of people I know that, oh my gosh, tragedy has struck, but how do we respond as a community?
It was the way the community responded. I grew up in US, and I've always had, there's like a lot of Filipino people there. Like I've always had so many Filipino friends, and they've been some of my favorite people in the world. And when that happened and the way that the community responded, I was like, I expect nothing less.
For sure. It was phenomenal. Like everyone just rallied. We did the best we could. And, coming up into business and entrepreneurship in my career, I've always worn my heritage with pride. But the beautiful side of it, right? And along with tragedy, when people come together to do something great, as things go by, there's a lot of like infighting and a lot of the messy parts of it. And that's what I kind of leaned into a little bit, because how are we coming together as a community, but we're not? We're not being real. Exactly. So we're questioning, we're this, we're that. And, last week I had the opportunity to meet with a lot of delegates from across Canada and the Philippines. They'd all flown in. And there were all these Filipino groups, local groups. And I'm like, y'all don't like each other. But you're in this room, which says a lot. Which says a lot.
There's a desire.
There's still hope. And that's what it told me, because last year I was very discouraged with how we were acting as a community in a lot of ways. You take the good with the bad, but that spurred for me just this, I'm Filipino Canadian, I'm a woman, I'm doing this. I think Alan and I also kind of got pushed into a spotlight that we weren't ready for, because we were being asked to speak on behalf of the community.
That's very tough.
Wait a minute.
Because I'm also processing this.
I sell donuts. What do you want to know from me? Right?
I know.
But things happen for a reason.
But if anybody could be a community leader, it's you guys. I mean that. I mean that because it's in your soul, and you may have not been ready for it, but I think that I believe in God, and I'm just like, sometimes God will just usher you into rooms that He knows that you're ready for.
There it is. He knows we're ready for, but we don't know that we're ready. So we have a choice to make, right? And so we stepped into it the best we could, and supported where we could support. But I think what that did for me personally was it made me question so many things about my womanhood, how I show up, who I am as a mom, the patterns that I'm continuing, being raised in a very conservative household. And I was like, I thought I was pretty, not like your typical Filipino, but I thought I was pretty modern and, open-minded, and I am. But having it be a spotlight on the community really kind of brought to the surface for me, all these personal things that I had to deal with. Right. So last year was really the first year that I sought out a woman mentor, leaned into women's groups, women entrepreneurs, women founders, because it's a different emotional struggle. Right. And I think I made peace with a lot of things. You hear it all the time that when you grow as a person, when you grow into your business, that some people can't grow with you. So through the the crazy things that happened last year, I think I learned where I stand with a lot of people, but a lot of people also learned where they stand with me.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah. How did you become okay with that? Because we're so interpersonal.
Yeah.
And because we're so interpersonal, I think that women go through the experience of codependency differently and how we regulate ourselves and our nervous systems. Like we regulate so much with each other. And then there gets to this point where you're like, okay, I have to be good and solid all on my own. You know what I mean? And so it's like, how did you find that experience just like kind of like fucking with yourself harder?
Pretty much. It's pretty much what you said. You just do it scared.
Yeah.
Do it scared. I leaned into a lot of my mentors and my coaches, and because I'm a recovering perfectionist, I'm a people pleaser to a fault. And one of my mentors said to me, he said, what do you give when you have nothing left to give? What good are you to the community if you really can't take care of yourself, your own nervous system? Like you can't fake this anymore. You know, one thing coming up as a woman is I was always praised for the way I looked. And that was the sort of validation that I grew up, with, right? And again, it serves you some ways, but at some point when you need to get to the real about what's going on, it's nothing, right? So I had to get real about a lot of things. I had another mentor question whenever I said, oh, but I want this person's approval. I want them on my team. I want them on my side. It's why? Why do you want them on your side? Do you actually need them on your side? Would it be nice to, or do you actually need them? Right? So,
and what part of you needs that, right? Is it because there's the part of us that, like you said, wants to be essentially just wants to be a part of the community, wants to be liked, wants to be enough. And then, so those are those core fundamental things where it's like, am I safe on this earth? And then there's just the reality of like, okay, do I really need this chess piece in order to go to that next chess piece?
You don't.
Yeah.
You totally don't.
Yeah.
You can rearrange and redirect and pivot as much as you need to. But I think what's anchoring me today is a lot different than what it was for the past 20 years. I pride myself on servant leadership. Like I love being of service to others. I just have to get better at doing it in a way that doesn't compromise my own values and my own integrity. So setting those boundaries for me are really paramount right now. Some relationships I want to come back to. I just don't know how yet because I'm a different person today.
Yeah.
Right. So it has to be okay in this uncomfortable space.
Yeah. And you have to, it's like you just said, is you have to be willing to do it scared. And I think doing relational things scared is like 10x scary, because it's like, I think that as an entrepreneur, there's just something about like this courage muscle that you have in you where you're like, okay, I have developed this, but you can develop it in the business world or in doing these other crazy things. But then sometimes in other pockets of our lives, we're like, okay, my courage meter is a little lower.
Yeah. And the truth is how you do one thing personally is how you're going to do it professionally.
Yes.
Whether you see it right away or not, it's going to show up.
Yes. Yeah. And you just may not be conscious of consciously aware of where does it show up.
Where does it show up? Other people will notice it. Other people might see it, but it might take a while, right?
Yeah. So what is anchoring you right now?
Oh man, my family, my 11-year-old she's just in this really fun time where she's exploring herself. She's exploring her style and how she wants to show up for grade 7, things like that. Yeah. So I'm having like the best conversations with her and even some tough conversations that I never had growing up. Yeah. I'm just trying to be that person for her that is truly, 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 genuinely a safe space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw this reel one time about this girl who was like, I called my mom and she was drunk and she was out and she's like, I called my mom and my mom came and she picked me up and she never said anything in the car. And then the next day she never yelled at me. Yeah. And in that moment, I realized that if I'm ever in trouble, I can call my mom. And it was one of those things, like I had a similar moment like that when I was younger with my mom. And I just I think that when we have the opportunities to be the safe space, you're like, oh my God, that's why I went through all that hard stuff, was to know what it means to be a safe space.
Yes. How do we define it for ourselves?
Yeah.
For sure. Because I think my biggest worry as a parent today is just with social media and the speed at which our kids and us are getting information, I can't keep up. I do my best. Alan and I really do our best to figure out what these parental controls are and to control that. But I can't control it.
Yeah.
So all I can really do is empower her in a way that is so much more meaningful and I think will be beneficial for her later on, build that confidence.
Yeah. What do you think is something that kids these days, like from your perspective, are dealing with that maybe our gen didn't deal with?
I think it's anxiety and mental health issues. Yeah. Anxiety and mental health issues. I have very open conversations with my daughter about that. It could be as, it's interesting. She says the funniest stuff, like we're exploring high schools and I went to an all-girls Catholic private high school and I'm giving her the option and we're studying these options together, right? And I said, well, would you like to go to, a private Catholic school? And her perspective is not even the uniform, not even the anything like that, strictness or whatever it is. It's that, Mom, girls are harder to deal with mentally than boys. I never would have said that at 11 years old. Like, what?
Yeah. How do you have this consciousness?
So I'm sitting with her. Yeah. We're getting our matchas. I'm like, tell me more. Tell me more.
Yeah.
And I love it. And the school.
Oh, I love how open she is with you. Yes.
Exactly. I get goosebumps because it really is. Like, I might get emotional. Okay. Last year really was a turning point for me in how I want to raise my daughter, especially as she's getting into these pivotal years.
Yeah.
And just that openness of communication. I can't control the speed of AI, social media, her friend group even. I really can't control it, even if I think I could. So the only thing I can do is make sure that line of communication is open and she can come to me no matter what.
Yeah. Yeah. What about it makes you emotional?
I think it's because as well-intentioned as my family was, I really was raised on incredible values, like traditional values that I love and I bring into, care, looking after our community, unconditional, like all of that. But the flip side to that was really just being praised and accoladed for reasons that are maybe superficial. Like it's that perfectionist mind of, hey, if we look good on the outside,
that's a hard one.
We can deal with the inside stuff later.
Yeah.
And so for my daughter, I just really want her to be herself in all ways, shape, or form.
Yeah.
Right. So even growing up, my best friend is as gay as can be. And growing up in a Catholic school, it was just, he was gay within that ecosystem. Right. But today it's much different. Like she has classmates that are, have a certain, inclination or this and that. And I don't want to penalize that. And I don't want to judge it because they're so young. Okay, let's just talk about it.
Yeah.
If we can have a conversation about it and not judge the outcome, then we are on the right track.
Yeah.
And I think that's what parenting is for me today. It's like one step in front of the other.
Yeah.
We're not trying to create the perfect human being. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't care if she goes out and makes decisions that embarrass me, like whatever. That's your human experience. But I will do my damn best to empower you to make decisions and use your mind to have that critical thinking.
Exactly. And what you're saying to me is just the process of critical thinking. Am I willing to be open to the process of critical thinking as you're going through it for the first time?
There it is.
Yeah. Because I think so many of us when we were younger, what will I look like? Oh my God, that's huge in the Indian community.
For sure.
Right?
Yeah,
and
that's
it's
similar.
like, as long as we look tip top outside, we're Gucci.
Yeah.
And my mom was actually like, my parents split up when I was 13. And my mom just was like, I'm going to put a fire to this because like I got to go and I need to have a good life. And like, if she didn't do that, I think that I would have been riddled with that forever. But like, I think so many of those conversations were just conversations you needed to have out loud with a safe person that you can like bounce the idea back. And then you kind of come to this conclusion, which you're grateful that they made that conclusion.
That's
you know
right.
what I mean? Yeah. It's the process.
It is the process.
Yeah.
We're not looking for perfection, even though that it's in the back of my mind all the time. I've come to accept that voice is always going to be there. I think I just have to figure out how to harness it to be a superpower rather than something detrimental.
Yeah. I think perfectionism is a really tough one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. So let's go back to, the shop. And when you're making the decision now to franchise it, I'm just like, how did you do that? Not even just like from a business lens, like from an emotional lens. Like you had one dog that you were walking and now you have like 6 dogs that you're walking. Like what was that experience like for you as an individual and that season?
Yeah, it was messy. Super messy. I think Alan and I, like we said, we saw a brand opportunity. So we tried everything under the sun the first maybe 2 years of the business. And that included building more shops and figuring out the game plan for that. What ended up happening is we explored like 2 different options over the last 8 years. So we have 10 locations now, half are corporately owned and half are franchised. We explored both models because we wanted to see which one looked good. And I think today it's looking like a hybrid of both to, do our best to kind of keep the soul of the brand there. Yeah. And kind of keep our mark on it, which is very special, right?
And it's important.
Huge. Yeah. Huge. We're not trying to do things the way other big brands do. We recognize that we have something really cool here. And so we want to do it as authentically as possible, right? So go back to the question. What was the question again?
Yeah. How did you move through that season? Like, what was that season like for you when you were expanding?
Okay, so the first couple of years, we did a lot of work on the brand. We just kind of redrew the brand and tried to solidify who this Johnny Glaze mascot was and who, what
Johnny
this
Glaze
brand...
got lots of energy.
Johnny Glaze deserves his own fan club at this point.
He really does.
But we just tried to really define what this brand meant. And then expanding it, I don't think we were ready. So I think we did a really good job of, testing out merch, testing out this and that once we perfected our donut. And then we're like, you know what? Let's try a franchise show. Sure, let's try it. This was probably 5 or 6 years ago now. Opened those floodgates, got the fancy booth, the whole 9, and we just weren't prepared. We got over 100 applications in a weekend.
Wow.
And over 30 people for our first discovery day, which is the day that happens after the show. Yeah. And people with checks in hand.
Yeah, they were ready to go.
It was that moment for Alan and I where we hit that thing in the road where we're like, we're going to do this? Or are we not? And that was probably one of the most painful lessons in business for me is I had to give some checks back, right? You're trying to grow your business and expand. And I'm like, here's your money back because we're not ready. But I would rather grow intentionally, which is what we did over the last 8 years, than go to 100 shops and our systems aren't tightened up.
Yeah, because it just sounds like somebody who really cares.
That would have, if we had done it, like that would have killed the brand.
Yeah. When you're making those big decisions with your partner, like how do you navigate the dual relationships? I almost want to say tri-relationship because there's the relationship, like the romantic relationship. Yeah. There's the business partnership. But then there's also just that friendship and that kinship of like that creativity that you were talking about. Yeah. Just like I like doing things with you.
So that intersection is what we always come back to. And we're better at it now, but it was a muscle that we had to exercise over years of just tough decision making. And we've not always gotten it right. Yeah. We've definitely hit forks in the road where we really didn't agree, but we had to come to some sort of agreement to move the business forward. We are anchored by the family and we don't have outside investors. Like it is us. Like the boardroom is Alan and me, right? So first and foremost, like I think we've kind of brought it down to a bit of a formula is first it's how does this affect our life and our lifestyle? I just have the one kid and I have one dog and I have one husband, partner, I have one house. Yeah. How does this decision affect all of that? Yeah. First and foremost. And then it comes into the stuff about the foundational stuff in the business. How does this affect our bottom line? How does this affect our people? How does this affect do we have the resources to do this, right? And then you never come to a perfect answer, but you need enough data points to feel secure that it's worth the risk. Yeah. I like how you've made it quantifiable. So it is less it's always emotional. It's always emotional, but it's the emotions are there, but here are the facts. And how do we balance the emotion and the facts, and like the emotions will shift and change. Yeah, totally. And I'm super fiery by nature. Like I'm an Aries. I'm very direct. I tell it like it is, and sometimes that doesn't go over so well.
Yeah.
But with people
You're
who
talking to a
know-
Scorpio. I get it. Yeah.
But for people who know me,
Yeah.
you know, they know that they don't question so much the delivery or the action. Sometimes they never question the intention.
Yeah.
And I think that's the most important thing as we do expand is they don't question how well intentioned Alan and I are about doing this.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Did you always want to be a leader? Like, did you always want to run teams?
I thrive in teams.
Yeah.
For sure. I think I was a leader by nature just through having that competitive spirit, wanting to be number one and leading the charge. So I was trained for it in a lot of ways. But my leadership style today is way different than it was when I first started.
Okay, tell me the difference. Like, if I was to look at leadership style back in the day versus today, like what changed and why and how?
The best way for me to describe it is probably, so I built a career for myself in real estate. I've been in real estate almost 15 years. And real estate is at the time was a very male dominated industry. And it was just me. I was a solo agent and it was very sink or swim. So I had to learn to lead myself and figure out how to survive in this game. It does help to have a super supportive partner with a stable job, right?
Yeah.
But I still had to prove to myself that, hey, this is a career worthwhile doing because it's expensive to be in real estate. And so when I could prove that to myself, I thought, okay, how do I do more of this without having to run myself into the ground? And then, you learn the power of leverage, not just in investments, but in your own time and your own, the way you lead things. And so I started building teams. And I think Alan and I have always been really good at getting people's buy-in, getting excited about things, getting, seeing the potential in people and potential in brands and potential in just ideas in general. And then you have the execution to prove it. So coming up in real estate, I was getting the results that I wanted. But to train team members to do what you do is very strict. It is very regimented. Sales and negotiation is pretty as basic as it gets. It's prospecting, it's lead generation, it's closing, and it's service. And that's in any business. But I think real estate taught me the discipline of it. And so leading a team like that, I was pretty firm. I was like, listen, it's very all or nothing. It's either you close the deal or you don't, right? But it was
facts. That is so
messy.
like that. Yeah.
But it's super messy because everyone in real estate wants to achieve at a high level.
Yeah.
Who doesn't want to be top performer, number one in our office, whatever it is, right? And so, in between that mess, my business partner at the time in real estate, we were like, let's hit 100 deals. Let's just do it. Let's just see what it feels like to net over 1.5 million in commissions or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And we just ran in cycles of burnout. And then my coach was just like, you think this is leadership?
Yeah.
That's cute.
Yeah. Tell me more. Because cycles of burnout is so real, right? It's like sprint, stroll, but the stroll it sounds like you're not actually recouping.
No. And in real estate, it's like the wild, wild west. You can conduct your business any which way you want.
And you eat what you kill.
You don't work, you don't make money.
Yeah.
Point blank period, right?
Yeah.
So it really is like I could be answering my phone all night if I wanted to. And that was a point of contention with Alan and myself. That was a wake-up call for me. It's like, how do I want to show up? How do I want to lead this? Because this isn't it. I did that for maybe 1 or 2 years. And that cycle of burnout, I was in the hospital 3 times that year.
Dude.
But we hit 100 deals, so... Right? It doesn't make sense.
I love the way you just said, but I hit 100 deals. The perfectionist, like, we fucking did it.
All or nothing. I could deal with a sprained ankle and whatever landed me in the hospital later.
Oh, that is so fucking relatable. Oh my God.
Any salesperson will know. Sorry.
Yeah. No, it's okay. Yeah. Okay, when you're saying I could pick up the phone at 11 o'clock, so how did you have to, because learning personal boundaries with your business partners is... you gotta go through that.
Yeah.
Because you could be the best of friends. Like with my business partners, we're great friends.
Yes.
And can talk all the time. And there's that, oh yeah, I can call you at 11 o'clock. But then it came to a point where I'm like, I don't want to do this at 11 o'clock because I don't have a brain anymore.
That's right.
If I'm just frying on all ends. Yeah.
That's it. And there was no other way to learn that than by going through it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a very honest conversation with myself and Alan. And it was just, he was like, how long are you going to do this? Right? Like you're out, you have to network, you have to do this, but then you come home and you're so tired and there's no time. And it does take a toll on a relationship.
Of course.
It takes a toll on your relationship with yourself because you just think you exist to serve others.
Yeah.
Right? There's that personal ambition and that drive that so many people want and want to move forward with. But there's also that life is too short and being in the present and enjoying the journey. So I didn't really enjoy that journey, if I'm being very honest, until I learned how to be a leader who could leverage and not be in the weeds so much.
And how did your team do? Like, how did your team do after that? After you started to learn that?
It's a trade-off,
Yeah.
right? If you can do 100 deals and not burn out, I've seen it done 10 times over at this point. But at the time for us, it was scaling back so we could focus on quality. Quality of life for our team, quality of service. Yeah.
Yeah. When you're, and these are buzzwords, but I know that you'll get it. You know, when you're going and you're like, but I closed 100 deals, like that is that's a push motion, right? That's a part of you that loves to thrive and move forward and is ambitious. And it doesn't mean that a feminine motion is not that like that, but the way that the feminine will like receive and get is so different. It's more inwards, it's more depth, it's sitting and sinking. How did you, like how you're saying, like it did impact the relationship? I'm sure it impacted other relationships too, because like just your relationships with presence, like how am I here in this relationship just relating to you? How did you start to sink into that? Because I feel like you do that very well. I only know you now, right? But from what I'm hearing, that was a journey.
For sure. I think I do it better now. And even last year in what I call my crazy year, there was still that cycle of burnout, but it felt different than it did when I was trying to do like 100 deals 5 years ago, right? And I think what I lacked in my early days of leadership was that grounding. Yes, I love my family. Yes, I love my husband. Yes, because I was still wrapped up on making it look perfect on the outside. Yeah. If I'm being super honest. Yeah. So that must mean it's perfect on the inside, and it's so not. Yeah. So that energy, it's just like negating yourself. It is. Yeah. And it's not acknowledging that. Yeah. Until I end up in the hospital, until I end up, flatline in bed. Yeah. And I think, Alan, for as long as he's known me, I talk about my partner a lot because we do everything in partnership and collaboration. Yeah. But he's known me for so many years, and he's been such a great anchor for me in coming back to myself, but not pushing. Because he's not a therapist. He's not, he doesn't do women's studies. He just knows me and my craziness. But he's been able to hold that in his own way. When he met me, I was super depressed. Like I've battled depression since I was 18. And so what that looks like today versus what it was before is just like the tools that we put in our tool belt along the way. Yeah. You know what I mean? And Alan's been able to adapt at every step. We used to have a joke where there were some days where I just couldn't get out of bed because you're so depressed. You're like, I just can't get out of bed. But I was the most productive motherfucker from my bed with my phone and my laptop in bed, and it would blow his mind. He's like, okay, this is the joke now. Like when we have our office, we're just going to put a queen size bed in your office so you can do your best work horizontal in bed as a depressed, like, person.
That is the image. That is the image
of a leader.
Of a leader. That is the image of somebody who is like, it's just, you know what? I think at the time is just not valuing that, like what they need, or may not even see the value of what they need. Yeah.
That's it.
That's so tough. That's it. I've had my own relationship with depression, so I totally get it, but it's like high functioning depression is fucking crazy.
It's crazy. Yeah. It's another level.
Yeah, because everyone thinks you're like, yo, you're crushing it. But then the close people know that, like, why are you always so sad?
I can't even get out of bed. But I love everyone.
Yeah, and it's so visceral, right? And that's why I was like, as a dancer, you are forced to it's funny how it comes back to this. It's like you're forced to understand that relationship with yourself. And it's like, your body can feel very numb to you, or you can be in sync with it. Like, oh, I am feeling this, or I am sensing this, and I can either not deal with it, or I can get curious about it. And it sounds like you got curious about it.
Eventually.
Yeah. Yeah.
Finally.
Finally. And I'm proud of you. And you know, one thing that I was like, I have to talk to you about is like, you're somebody who has talked a lot about coaching, and you talk about your mentors so much. Like, when did you start in mentorship? Like, what was your mindset like when you started in mentorship? Why did you know that like mentorship was a good opportunity for you?
Mentorship for me came kind of accidentally. When I was in high school, I got my first job at Dairy Queen. We were the
Dipped
Dairy
cones,
Queen.
Baby.
That's right. And my boss at the time it was his family, and they owned the Dairy Queen, and he was a young guy. Like, I think he was just fresh out of college. And I just observed how he was running this business, because it really was my first exposure to teams, customer service training, all the things, right? So I was really curious at that time. And I don't even think he knew it, but I was watching everything and just asking for more responsibility until I became supervisor, shift lead, manager. And then he decided to open another franchise, another Dairy Queen. And I just asked if I could tag along and open it with him. And that gave me
so cool.
Such an opportunity to see how a system works from beginning to end, from building out a shop and him coming in and rallying friends to help build out an office or whatever it is. And so he didn't know it at the time, but I looked at him as a mentor. I reconnected with him recently, like just last year. But I've always been very grateful that he was just so open to letting me follow him around. Yeah. And so that was very powerful for me, because I was that kid that I didn't finish college. I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life, but I knew that I was enterprising enough, and I knew I wanted to make my own money. So leaning into that, knowing that I could lead a team, he could trust me to run his ship. I knew I wanted to be in that position one day.
I want to stay on the mentorship thing, but I want to go off of it for 1 second.
Sure.
I feel like you're somebody who is very safe with loving money, and money is a safe topic for you. And it's like, money is fruitful. Money makes the world go around. Like, have you always thought like that about money? Or like, what has your experience been like with your money mindset?
It really wasn't until Alan and I got together and had to figure it out on our own. Because of the way I was raised, like, I didn't live on my own. I didn't pay my own rent, this and that. It was very traditional upbringing until I got married and just flipped into a mortgage.
Wild.
And I was like, okay. What do you mean my paycheck goes to that much of my paycheck goes to that? I'm also the one that brought debt into the relationship through my student loans and you know, credit cards and whatever. Nothing crazy, but enough to make me feel so uncomfortable that I better figure out how to do this, because now there is someone else in the relationship. It's not just me. I can go to bed at night messing my own money and figuring that out. But we're trying to build a life and a family together. So we made it our business to educate ourselves on investments and relationship with money, and you know, and it's again through making bad decisions with it. But the best investment of my money has always been in ourselves, in our relationship, whether it be through coaching or therapy or whatever it is. So.
Yeah, because I feel like I love how you said I had to get so uncomfortable, because it's a trend that I'm noticing, not for you, but like in the discomfort, but for you in the sense that whenever your life is like, okay, here's a higher thing that you are being called to, you're just like, all right, I got to strap my boots up and like make it freaking happen. Like that's kind of what motherhood has sounded like for you. That's what business and like marriage and just all of these different aspects of your life. Like as life calls you forward, you answer the call.
It's courage.
It's
courage that I don't even know if I have.
I think you have. I mean, I think I know you have it.
We do have it. But it's doing it without having it perfectly laid out. You know, you do know the outcome that you want. Yes, I want hundreds of stores across Canada. Yes, I want to be a successful agent. Yes, I want to be a team leader. You always work with the outcome in mind, but the path to get there is not clear, right? So that's why seeking clarity is always that exercise. That's an everyday thing.
Yeah.
Because your team looks to you for it, and the buck stops here. So I better figure it out.
Yeah.
Right?
I really remember when I learned that leadership is top down, and like how you run your ship is how people will look at you.
Yeah.
You know, you brought it back to mentorship beautifully. Like, when did you intentionally then start looking for coaches and mentorship?
When I decided to start building a real estate team. I said, that's an area that I don't know much about. I've seen agents, like, how do they do it? Because growing up, any realtor that I knew in the family or just friends, they are still working at like 65 years old, like pen to paper, you know, the traditional way. I'm like, there's got to be a way to do this where I can leverage myself. And so I did, in the beginning, it was very traditional sales and executive coaching on how to be a leader, but also achieve sales, and then how to train people. And then after that, it became, you know, when I jumped on board Lee's more full time, it became about leadership coaching, but leading yourself. It became getting to know it's an exercise in getting to know yourself. I think one of the things that one of our mentors did very, very well when he met Alan and I was to recognize that, okay, you guys are the foundation of this thing. So we're going to spend the next couple of months not even talking about the business too much. Yes, there's some day-to-day things and issues that we can talk about, but it's how are you guys showing up together, and how does that respect grow together?
Yeah. How did that transform your working relationship?
There's a level of respect with me and Alan where we know that beyond our titles within the company, he's really good at this. He's a creative genius. And the thing that we learned within ourselves is something that we kind of share with the team, is that figure out what your gifting is and lean into that, because as a company, we will support that. I get the best work out of my leaders and my people when I know exactly what they're good at. And so that path to that clarity, we just have to make sure that we provide the space to do it at a good pace. You know what I mean? Like no one's at work for a vacation. We still have things to reach. We still have to do it. But it's my job to provide that container to make sure that you reach those goals and get that clarity of what you're good at.
Is there something that you look for when you're hiring humans?
Aside from the skill that's required for the job, I do look for that. This is going to sound really like flighty, but I do look for that magic and that deep care that they will be able to connect with something in the business that's beyond the job of selling donuts. Yeah,
I totally get that. I think about that with Dank all the time, is like the staff that has done the best, and when I say the best, it's not like even just you cleaned up the store the best, but the staff that has had the most personal growth, who has like crushed it at work, are always the people who are interested in the community that we're building and the true essence of what Dankmar is, because we're not a like big shop. Like, we are a local homegrown shop that loves music, that loves snacks, that loves nostalgia. And like there has to be a red thread in there for you, and then you will achieve really well here.
Totally.
Yeah.
At its, you want these people to champion your brand. Yeah. But it has to come from a place that's authentic to them.
Yes.
So they need to connect with the brand or the work in a way that is meaningful. And I know for a lot of our teams, we're doing quite a bit of leadership training right now as we prepare to scale, as we are scaling. Yeah. And I can see that for my people who are becoming those leaders now, that they are finding such meaning in building up the next generation and the people coming into the business. It's so beautiful because it's beyond the SOPs and the work and the stuff that we have to do, right?
It's the magic. And I totally agree with you, because like, as the entrepreneur, you're going to care so differently, because the magic for you is so, I want to say, it's not always evident, but majority of the time it's so evident. It's so there that you can feel into that, like, okay, this is why I'm pushing forward. This is what I love about it. But then as an employee, sometimes because I've been both, where it's like, what is pushing me forward here? Like, am I bought into what this is? And, you know, I remember I used to work for a marketing company, and we would go to marketing pop-ups, and like I'd work for all these different brands like Pepsi, Nutella, Talis, and I would know the brands where why was I so excited about it? And like one time when I was working for the Nutella company, it's like, I love Nutella. Nutella is like it's like a feeling, you know? And I just remember having so much fun with that. And I was like, oh, this is because it's so embedded in their essence that like Nutella is a feeling. It's at home having Nutella with your fam.
Yes.
You know, and it just transcends.
And that speaks to the brand itself, right? Like Lee's Donuts is hugely nostalgic brand.
Yeah.
And we love it.
Yeah.
Like how many brands have been around for almost 50 years?
It's insane.
So I have to somehow be able to translate that to the people in our company and have them understand that that's how important this is. Mm-hmm. I know, like, I have a lot of young people that work for me, and I know that sometimes this is their first job, and I love that too. Mm-hmm. But maybe no 16-year-old's coming up to me and being like, I want to be the best baker. I want to be a donut baker for the rest of my life. Maybe they are, or, you know, I don't know. Yeah. But so I always explain to them that whether you're here for 5 minutes, 5 months, or 5 years, like, let's make it meaningful. I want to know where you want to be in 5 years. Yeah. How can I support that?
Exactly.
Through our business.
Yeah, through our and that is the key part. Like, how can I support that through our business? And what I mean by that is like, how can you show up to be that leader that you need to be and to lead yourself through the skills that you're going to learn here that will then allow you to go and do those other things.
Exactly that.
Yeah.
And I'm learning, like, at least this year and through our changes, like for me, it's actually doing less and letting them creatively come up with their own solutions the same way Alan and I did in the early days. Yeah. You know?
Yeah.
And this is the space where you can make mistakes within reason.
Yeah.
Within
Don't
reason.
burn the house down.
But this is the place where you can play a little bit. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I want to ask you, like, one of my last questions is like, have you had a season where, because you've been in business for a long time, like, have you had a season where you weren't as ambitious or you weren't as hungry?
How about like multiple times a week? Yeah. Like at least 3 times a week, I'm like, you know what? Sell everything.
Yeah.
Screw this. Yeah. Last year was really pivotal for me, as I kind of referred to earlier. Because my work is so anchored with my family and the community work that we do, if that's in disarray, like, I'm not okay, you know? So yeah, last year I was fully depressed. I was at my heaviest. I was not taking care of myself. I was not the nicest person to be around in a lot of ways. We hit crisis after crisis in the business and also in our personal life. There's a really cool event that happens in the city called Pichakucha. Okay. Which is...
Oh, yes. That's where you go and speak, right?
Yeah, you speak like 20 slides and you share story. And it's fantastic. It's, you know, creatives and business people do it. And Alan and I got invited to do that at the beginning of 2025. And we picked the topic of clarity in terms of how did we do this, right? The pursuit of clarity. And I just remember looking back now that after we had that talk, I just felt like everything went to shit. Everything became so blurry. And I really was questioning God, like, why is this happening? I don't think I meant to do this. I don't think, like, it was going to break us at that point. Alan and I were not good. The business was not good, even though on the outside it looked perfect.
I'm still doing my job.
I'm still doing my job. We are still showing up. Yeah. But that's when I really had to take a moment and acknowledge my cycle of burnout, acknowledge that I wasn't connecting to myself and I was running this thing on fumes. And it made me question just everything in my life. Who do I have around me? Who is in my life for the right reasons? Who is going to help me propel and get out of this? Again, always thinking with the end in mind. I already was thinking, even though I was in my depressed bubble, how am I going to get out of this? Like, what, this is going to look so good on the other end. Yeah. Because that's the pattern, right? Yeah. But how do we get there and keep everything else afloat? I'm proud because we've made it on the other end today and it's still really challenging in a lot of ways. But I think 2025 taught me so many lessons about just showing up authentically.
Yeah. You know, the image I have in my mind is like, if you were like, let's say you're in downtown and you're going to North Van, it's like really choppy waters and you're on like a paddle board versus now you're on a ship. It still could be choppy waters, but your mode of transportation, your essence is growing. So then you're able to like kind of navigate that differently.
Yeah. And it's really no different than, I mean, I say last year was a crazy year, but that's just because it really just happened. I look back at years like when COVID happened, we had just sunk in everything we made at that business into a beautiful renovation for the Granville Island shop because everything was 40 years old.
Yeah.
But then when we got the keys for it was the same week that the world shut down. So I literally walked into this beautiful new shop that you could eat off the floor and I'm like crying. And I told Alan, I'm like, that's it. We've just spent all of our money. We can't open to make money. The world is in shambles. Everything sucks, you know, but we made it on the other end.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm happy today and I'm proud today that, you know, we've lived to tell about it. But I also think that you just get better at being resilient.
Yeah.
At these kinds of things. Because that's just life now.
Yeah.
Right.
When did you know that you're like, yo, I'm an entrepreneur?
Very early on. Very early on. And a story I like to share is always like I was that kid at like 6 years old who would send my mom to the art store, get me a bunch of supplies so that I could make carnival events in our backyard.
Yeah.
And then make tickets and everything and sell it back to my family to come to my event. Of course, right? So that
Those
was
100
always
deals
me.
were nothing to young Celine. Okay, last question.
Okay.
If somebody is on the other side and they're entrepreneurial and they are not like, this is a random question that's coming up for me.
Okay.
Like they're entrepreneurial, they want to be like a woman is wanting to be in a relationship, also wanting to be in a relationship with an entrepreneurial person, has all her friends as entrepreneurs. What is your advice for how she can guide herself through that period of growth?
Wow. Okay.
It's a big one.
It's a big one
It's
because
just
you're
so
describing
intuitive.
me.
Yeah, I'm almost thinking of you like not when you were 20 because but like more when you were probably like 10 years after that because you knew who you were, you're in this relationship, you're both entrepreneurial. But how do I take all these balls of life that I love and make them work?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think the best way that I could answer that is just to get to know yourself and don't be afraid of what that journey is. Because that clarity piece is, no one can answer that but you. That's your own journey of self-discovery, right? I always did mine in partnership with somebody. But if you're doing this by yourself, like you could do it faster. You could go as fast or as slow as you want, really, right? I would always say though, don't wait. That's the Aries in me. Don't wait for it to be perfect conditions, just do it. And then the second piece to that would be to find what your anchor is. So whether that's your family or, you know, a partner or anything like something that you can come back to, that when the world is in chaos, you're like, okay, this is my North Star. Yeah, within yourself. Yeah.
I love that. I love that. Random share, but what that reminds me of is my best friend is also very creative. And she's like, yeah, we should create something together and all this. And I think because I create so many things with so many of my friends, I'm like, I love you to death, but I don't want to create anything with you.
There it is.
And but that's because you're that North Star, that anchor. Like you will be here through any day of the world. And I want to keep that so like nourished, you know?
And when you find it what it is, maybe it is your path to be a solo entrepreneur and not do it in partnership. But if you want to do it in partnership, then I would say when you find that right person or that right business partner or that right team, freaking commit. Commit. What I see with a lot of entrepreneurs today, it's like it can get really flighty sometimes. Because the idea factory is free. Right?
Yes.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes. The execution is where it's at.
The execution is where it's at. And you can only do that at a high level if you commit.
If you commit and if you have the right people with you.
It is,
like I'll never forget meeting Kevin and I was just like, like he reminded me of the guys that I grew up with. And I was just like, we can create something so freaking magical together. And I remember that like when we committed. And before that, everything for me was like idea. I was that like idea. And then it was like, no, now you have your plot of land, build the fucking house.
There it is.
Yeah. Is there anything that you feel like is on your heart that you didn't get a chance to say?
I think my encouragement and my invitation for everyone is that if it's in you to be an entrepreneur, first of all, it's not easy to be an entrepreneur in Canada.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
But if it's your calling, and if that's really something that you know you're not going to be a good employee, you know you're not going to be, and that there's that calling within you, is to really go for it. You owe it to yourself to explore that. And if that is the path for you, like, it's the most beautiful journey of self-development that I've experienced.
Yeah.
And so if we can come out on the other end, I would encourage anyone to give it a shot.
Yeah. I love that. Okay, where can people find you online?
Instagram, leesdonuts.ca, Celine Bacani YVR, and on LinkedIn.
Yay. Thank you so much for coming.